Present. Good evening and welcome to the City of Fairview Board of Commissioners meeting. Tonight is Thursday, February the 20th at 7 p.m. If you'd please stand for the prayer and pledge. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and for all the many blessings you've given us. We gather to make decisions for our community. May we only use our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us, and always act in accordance with what is best for our community and our fellow citizens. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda, and we have one addition, 11B, new business, approval of multi-year material contract with Pyro Shows for Independence Day celebration.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Vice Mayor Rennie, seconded by Commissioner Lucas. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to add an item for discussion tonight.
Okay.
In regards to meeting minutes and packets.
Meeting minutes, and what was the last thing?
And packets.
Packets, okay. We'll notate that as item 11C under new business.
Motion to approve amended agenda.
Second.
Have a first and second by the same solicitors. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, Ms. Johnson.
Vice Mayor Rainey,
Aye.
Commissioner Lucas,
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson,
Aye.
Commissioner Burks,
Aye.
Mayor Blade.
Aye. Motion passes. Item 7, public announcements, awards, and recognitions. We have none, and I skipped 6, citizens' comments. Thank you, ma'am. Item 8, staff comments and monthly reports. City manager report, Mr. Collins.
Yes, Mayor, members of the commission, I have 3 items for you tonight. The first is a document that I placed before you. There's no action to be taken on this. This is actually item 11B, the financing documents to purchase property located at 7062 City Center Way. When we get to that item, there'll be nothing to discuss other than answer some questions, but the document you have before you that is not colored or highlighted is the request for proposals that will be posted on the city's website for tomorrow. We'll run that through Wednesday, March 4th, requesting proposals for that financing. This document outlines what we're asking for. We look to have that information back, have the proposals back by the 4th, and have this available for your consideration at the meeting on the 5th. Obviously, we are under some constraints with the calendar and our meeting schedule, but we anticipate to have this to you no later than March 19 for approval, so we can get that to the state. So when we get to this, I'll be glad to answer the schedule, but this document you have before you is just related to that matter for what will be published. The second item I have for you are a couple of finance reports. Just kind of highlight some things we've been working on. As all of you are aware, really for the last 3.5 years or so, all of the actions that the city has taken as it relates to operations, financials, day-to-day operations of the city and the planning has been almost exclusively reactionary. If you look at some of the decisions that were made over the 10 years before that, Fairview was put in a situation where for the last 3 years, maybe 4 years now, we didn't really have an opportunity to do a lot of planning because everything that we did was reactionary to what happened in the past. We went through a rebuilding process. That's just a part of where we were and kind of how we've arrived at where we are today. With that, the coming fiscal year budget that begins July 1, 2020 will really be the first year since I've been here, and probably the first year in 15 years, we're able to take our budget and make it be a planning tool rather than a recovery tool. And there's a difference as you function your city from day to day, week to week, year to year. With that, we're going to put an effort in place to improve some of the financial reporting that we've been able to do. Our software system really doesn't lend itself to a financial report that is easily readable to the regular citizen or anyone else who's reading a document if we provide this. So I just want to take just a quick minute to explain kind of what the internal finance department report looks like today, what our plan is for the future one, and when we have our work session on April 4th, we'll have a more cleaner version of this to consider for what we post on the website, beginning with the new fiscal year, July 1. But just to highlight, if you look at the document that's highlighted in yellow, at the top of the page it's highlighted City of Fairview Statement of Revenues through January of 2020. Obviously, this report is for the January report, and we're about 59% through the fiscal year at the end of January. So as you keep this in mind, so I've highlighted two line items for you that kind of highlight the difficulties within our software system and an improvement we think we can make. But if you look at the first highlighted line to the left, it's numbered 31610, 31610. It's the local sales tax. That's the sales tax we get through the county for all the county sales tax and local sales tax, not state. You can see that we budgeted $1,968,000, and this is on the previous budget. This is not in the amended budget number. This is just example. We budgeted $1,968,000. Month to date, we brought in $178,004. If you look at this from the general, just a recognition of numbers, this appears to be a negative number. It's parentheses, it's a negative number, where in reality it's a positive number. It's money that was brought in. So part of our issue in posting some of this information is having to explain why revenue is a negative number, right? Just not really functional for what we've had to work with. We understand it internally, we understand it budgetarily, but putting a document in place that really explained where we are has been a bit problematic with the system that we have. We think we found a workaround, but this is kind of session one of how this has worked. The second number, the year-to-date realized, $1,201,418. Again, that's listed as a negative number, but that number is in comparison to what you've budgeted. So that's actually a positive number that where we've run into. So year-to-date, January, we brought in $178,000. For the fiscal year, we brought in $1,201,000. The unrealized money that we have not yet collected through the year is $766,581, and that's a positive number as the software reports it. So as a standard reading of a document, the software has generated numbers on an accounting standard, not a financial reporting standard. So really this reads backwards if you're looking at where you would be. In reality, if you were looking at this from a dollars and cents, your $178,000 would be a positive number. Your $1,201,000 would be a positive number. And your $766,581 would be a negative number, money we haven't realized yet. This has really not been an issue in the past in the sense that we've been rebuilding. We've had money in and money out, but we had not been out, have an opportunity to plan. We've been really reactionary to where we are. The last number you see is the percent unrealized. You'll see that the percentage unrealized is 38.95% of our budget. Now, in reality, we have 41% of our budget left. We're 7 months through the year. We've gone through 58% of the budget. We're 41% of the budget left. So for that number, we have 41% of the year left to collect 39% of our budget. So it appears that we're very well in line with what our budget was. Makes sense there. So with the local sales tax, we are exactly where we would need to be or hoped to be from a budgetary standpoint. But for the regular citizen reading this information, it appears to be backwards. It appears positives are negatives and negatives are positive as far as cash flow. We believe we found a workaround to reverse that. That has taken some work within the software system, but as we move through the next couple of meetings and start producing this report in a format that we can put it online, we'll actually have the positives as positives and negatives as negatives. So there is some cleanup work to do, but our goal is to make it easier for everyone that we can just print a report out of the software system, post that online, and not have to recreate numbers in the system that we've had. If you look down to the next highlighted line, 32,610, building permits. We estimated $97,500 originally for revenue to come in. Again, the month-to-date realized was $21,165, which appears to be a negative number. It's actually positive. That money came in. Year-to-date realized $113,453. The unrealized was $15,953. The difficulty with this is those are all negative numbers, but if you look at the year-to-date realized of the $113,000, we've brought in $113,453, but we only budgeted $97,000. So we're to the good, that amount of money, as the reports that are put online, or that we attempt to put online as far as the revenues. If you look to the number to the far right, the percent unrealized is a negative number. So it would appear that we're negative 16%, when in reality, we're 59% through the year, and we're already 16% ahead on our revenue. So I say all that to say, the system reports that we've had over the last couple of years through the software, as we've tried to dig our way through all these financials, have not been the easiest to put out in a manner that they could be digestible without having to re-enter manually some documents. We think we found a workaround, but as we go forward with the new budget year, our goal is to have a document similar to this, where positives are positives, negatives are negatives, and it's a more easily readable document than what we've had to work with internally so far. The second page, the page highlighted in pink, is an expense department. In this case, the Board of Commissioners. This is just a simple example of what the software system sends out. We use the first highlighted line, OSI, basically that's FICA, Social Security, Medicare. The original budget was $118,000, total budget $1,118. Total budget was $1,118. Year-to-date expenditures, you'll notice that this is a positive number, when in reality it should be a negative number. The expense report shows opposite of the revenue report, and that the numbers seem to be backwards. It's an accounting system, not a software or reporting system. It's debits and credits from an accounting standpoint, not a cash in your hand standpoint. The actual month-to-date encumbrance shows to be, or the percent used is 60.77%. So we're a little over budget, although a small number, in that line item, and a little below budget, 45.27%, and the line below that, Medicare. The reason I provide this information to you is to let you know that we've been working for some time to improve the reporting. We want to make that more user-friendly. But given our financial circumstance over the last couple of years and the software that clearly reports, as you see here, we've needed to make some changes internally so that when we do get to positive numbers in a budget, we can present positive numbers out of our software system. We think we've found a fix for that. There are a couple of fixes within the software system we've clicked around this week. We'll ask our software provider to help us with that. Just know, as we go forward, particularly with the reporting year that begins July 1, that the documents you see will be in this format that will come out of our software system. We will post those monthly, and it will have every line item for every department for revenue and expenditure in the true positive and negative sense, not the reversed order that you see here. So that will take us a few minutes to do as we get to the work session on April 4th. I think if we make that day work, I hope to have kind of a prototype report come out of the system I can provide you and make sure it answers the questions that we need to answer going forward, because again, beginning with July 1, we're in the planning stage, not the reactionary stage, and that's a wholly different process for where the city goes from there. So as we get in that data, I'll be glad to answer any questions we have on there, on any of those. And lastly, just a quick expression of thanks to the Fairview community as it relates to our middle school basketball. Fairview Middle School did exceptionally well in its basketball season this year. I believe the middle school girls finished the year with a record of 15-6, which is their best record they've ever had. Those girls did a really good job this year. They worked really hard, and it showed in all the participation the girls had. The middle school boys finished with a record of 29-2, went to the state championship, lost that game. That was the second loss of the year. What an outstanding year for the middle school boys and their year they had in basketball. More importantly than the basketball or the basketball record was the sportsmanship displayed by our entire community. Over the last weekend, we went to the state championship game on Friday and Saturday. Had to travel a good distance for both of those games. Fairview absolutely showed up. We probably had 500 people at both of those games. The state championship game on Saturday was a pretty heated contest. There was a really good team. Bellevue out of Memphis won the state championship, and they were really a team to watch. But the coach I introduced myself to the coach after the game. He made reference to the school principal who came up to me without any pressure from anyone else, that came up and offered a complete appreciation for the sportsmanship that the Fairview community showed at that game. That was really nice to have all of our community there. In fact, all of our community and everyone who attended actually stayed after the game to congratulate each one of the Bellevue players individually as they were identified and brought out and recognized after the game. So just a huge opportunity for Fairview, and it spoke really well of this community. I cannot be more proud of how that went. So just a quick thank you to everyone. That was hugely unexpected, but it was recognized across the state. So thank everyone for their showing up for that.
Thank you, sir. Item 8B, City Attorney Report. Mr. Potter.
No comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Item 9, Consent Agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lucas, seconded by Commissioner Burks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Ms. Johnson?
Commissioner Lucas?
Aye.
Commissioner Burks?
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rainey?
Aye.
Mayor Blade?
Aye. Motion passes. Item 10, Old Business. We have none. Item 11, New Business. A, financing documents for purchase of property located at 7062 City Center Way. Mr. Collins.
Yeah, Mayor, just to follow up to the description for the document you have, the contract has been executed. The earnest money has been delivered to the property owners. We're in the process, obviously, of advertising. I know Mr. Potter has made arrangements for closing for that property when we get to that point. The question that the property owner had was about the existing lease and the residents who were there. At this point, if we close in April, we'll be looking at a lease of about 90 days remaining on that lease. As I explained to them, if the tenants desire to stay in that lease, then we would likely entertain that with the completion of a hold harmless agreement against the city. We've done a home inspection. We've identified there are some things that need to be repaired in the home, not anything that's unsafe. But if we were going to keep the property as a leased parcel for some time, we need to make the repairs. I know we are not. So once we complete the purchase of that, our suggestion would be do a 90-day lease with the tenants and have them sign a hold harmless for the remainder of that. I know they're looking for a place to stay now. Their anticipation is that they will be out by April 15th. If not, we would need to engage in that lease for the remainder of the lease term. Once we complete all the other documents, I'll present that to you and have a follow-up at our next meeting on March 5th.
Questions? 11B, approval of multi-year material contract with Pyro Shows for Independence Day celebration.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Lucas, seconded by Commissioner Dawson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Ms. Johnson?
Commissioner Lucas?
Aye.
Commissioner Dawson?
Aye.
Commissioner Burks?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Rainey?
Aye.
Mayor Blade?
Aye. Motion passes. Item 11C, minutes and meeting packets. Commissioner Burks.
Thank you. I was on the city website today, and I was looking at our new website. It's pretty nice if you haven't been on there yet. I know it's been out for just a little bit, but I noticed that when we look at the meeting minutes that are supposed to be posted, the last planning commission meetings minutes were sometime in 2017. For the BOC, I believe it was October of 2018. we need to have those posted. I'm not sure the best way is a resolution or an ordinance that requires that the meeting minutes be posted once approved within an X number of business days. I would ask the city attorney to draw up an ordinance. That way we can make sure that happens on a continuous basis. I think it's important that the citizens can go back and review those minutes and see what happened at a meeting. If for some reason they're unable to get it on YouTube or the cable channel, and sometimes we have audio problems so no one can hear what's being said, even if they do tune in and watch, or sometimes even if they're present in the crowd. So they need to be able to know what's happened. So, Tim, if you would do something along those lines and present it to us, I would appreciate it. The second item is when the agenda is posted on the website, the packet doesn't have everything that we have. A good example of this would have been the budget. When we're approving the amended budget, I assume they were on there. I probably should have checked sooner. But it's not on there. So the citizens can't see what we do and know what we're approving. And I think that's a problem. They need to be able to see that. Again, we tend to discuss it in workshops and go through it in detail to when it's up here at the meeting, we just approve it without much discussion. Because budgets are dry and boring and nobody wants to listen to us talk about that forever. However, they need that information. I think it's important that they have it. I think the packets that are posted on the website should have everything that we receive. Unless there's a legal reason to not specifically post something. And I'm sure that's something Tim could talk about. There may be that occasion that can't go out. Settlement in a lawsuit, something like that until it's actually voted on and approved. But outside of that, I think that's important just for transparency, and that's my opinion. I think it's important. I think we should.
Just want to follow up on there. The lack of the budget, of the amended budget in that packet is on me. Just so you know, there were some last-minute movements within that budget that we had to take care of that were kind of outside of our ability calendar-wise to address. We were kind of under some pressure to make some changes pretty quickly financially. They weren't substantive, but they did affect the ordinance document that we had to create on there. So in that, we have the detail of the budget, which is the Excel spreadsheet, the big thing that you guys get, and then the ordinance of that, and those things have to balance. In moving some of those numbers around, that thing just got a little more complicated than I expected it to be, and that took a little more time than I needed to put on there. So I'll take the responsibility for that one. That was just the effort to get that thing in there, make it match. So that won't happen again, but there was a bit of difficulty in trying to put that thing together last minute under kind of some extenuating circumstances outside that we would normally have.
And I understand that that's going to happen.
Sure.
But it may be something that we can add after the fact so people can see what it was we were looking at. That's fine. It's just we need to make the effort to make sure it's there so that people can look at it. If nothing else, they can go back and say, okay, what was that 4 months ago that we did? They can go back, pull it up, and see it then. Prefer them to see it in advance, obviously, and we all know there's things that get added to the agenda at the last minute that may not make it practical to get posted onto the website in time. I understand that too, but we just need to get it on there as soon as possible if that's the situation and try to have it in advance for everybody. The budget's a big deal. Again, I know it's boring and nobody really wants to hear us discuss it and talk about it, me included, but we have to, and some people are interested in that, and it's nice to be able to go back and look at it, so.
Understood.
But is there something that we don't know about that makes it hard to get those things posted?
Just the time. It's just the timing of going through. We'll make an effort to make sure that we produce that thing. Obviously, we've had some website issues. We've had some other things internally we had to address, but we'll make sure we get that corrected.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing I will say is the website is so much easier to use now. It's amazing compared to what we had. You can actually find things. It's a stroke of genius.
And the good news is, that's not even the updated website.
Yeah.
So the website that we're actually doing, that's just a newer version of the old website. The new website that we're putting together will actually be an improvement over what you see now, so
Even better.
all good.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Item 12, communications from the mayor and commissioners. Commissioner Burks.
A couple things. Scott, good to see you back, sitting in your chair. One thing I wanted to address, social media, we all know it has some very good uses. It can be very important, but it's also a very bad thing at the same time. On a large level and in smaller communities, it's even worse, the bad parts of it. I try to avoid it, but I do, with my business, I have to go on it. As well as commissioner, I like to look and see what people are talking about, just community issues. And I find it troubling sometimes that the things people say, because they'll say things they won't say to you personally. They'll go on there and they'll post things about, example, the commissioners are crooked, they're liars, they're cheats, they're criminals, they're doing all this illegal stuff. And it really makes no sense to me. I have to ask the community, why do you think we do this job? It's not for the money. The only way I can make money off this job is to quit and spend this time on my real job. I can make money doing that. I lose money doing this. But it's important to me, personally, to serve my community and try to do the best job I can. And I recognize any decision I make, half the people in town are going to be mad about it. But that's okay. That's what I signed up for. But I really wish people would think and consider, why do we do this? Why do we take the time away from our jobs, the time away from our family? There's a lot of better things I could do on a Thursday night, a Tuesday night, some Saturdays, just for meetings. That doesn't count the time I spend doing everything else at home that I do for this job, and I know the other commissioners have to do as well. And I really want y'all to think about that. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and it takes a pretty thick skin to get up here and do what we do, not counting just running for office. That's not really very fun. But we did it, as well as others have over the years. But I wish y'all would go a little easier on the people in the city. Everyone here tries very hard to do what they think is best based upon the situation we're in, the information we have, and the constraints that we're under. We care about this city. We're members of this community. We don't just show up at meetings and live in Brentwood. We live here. My house is a stone throw away from this building. My kids attend school here. I care. You don't have to agree with me. That's perfectly fine. I don't expect you to. But please recognize that myself and these other 4 commissioners, as well as the Planning Commission, and not even talking about the city staff at this point, but people that are appointed or elected, just remember, they're just trying to help. And we're doing the best we can. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Dawson.
Yeah, welcome back, Scott Collins.
Thank you. Thank all of you.
It's great to have you back in your seat for sure. And, something that you said earlier just really hit home with me. We have a budget today that we can use for planning versus being reactionary. That's brilliant. That's important to me and my family, and I think it's important to the citizens of Fairview to understand that we are whole, that we are stable once again. And you personally had a lot to do with that, as well as all of the employees of this great city. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Lucas. Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor Rainey.
Welcome back. If you'll say roll tide, it'll be perfect.
I'm sorry. You broke up.
That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. I echo what everyone has said. Welcome back, Mr. Collins. Good to have you back with us on the team. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved.